Start. Mr. Vice Chairman, I rise not only to oppose the bill that has been brought before this House today, but to express the hollowness of the objects and reasons which the Minister has just placed before the House. Stop. I come to the point and I will have to give a little background because this is the first legislation of its kind in this country was brought forward in 1969. Stop. Former Prime Minister, while dissolving the Lok Sabha in December 1970 and calling for mid-term elections, addressed the nation on the radio, and one of the achievements she claimed was that the government had set up the monopolies and restrictive trade practices commissions to control concentration of economic power which had got concentrated in a few hands and to go forward on the road to democratic socialism. Stop. After its enactment, this act has already been amended a number of times. Stop. In November 1980, this was the first amendment when they said that export production should be excluded from the purview of the total production taken because that does not affect the consumer as it goes out of the country. Paragraph change. In April 1982, there was an amendment which have powers to the government to exempt by notification industries which in the opinion of the government are of high national priority or where the government feels that there is scope for export or if the industry is to be put in a free trade zone. Stop. That was in April 1982. Stop. That amendment by itself had signaled the dilution of the MRTP Act. Stop. In fact, the honeymoon with socialism had come to an end, and after 1980, the government had already started on this new path of liberalization and privatization, and there was a new vocabulary which is very much in fashion these days. Stop. In 1983, the government again amended the act based on the recommendations of the Structure Committee. Stop. I will show you within the course of my speech how the government has ignored the major recommendations of the Structure Committee and expect only those amendments which have suited this new role of liberation. Stop. At the outset, let me tell you that this bill before the House is the last nail in the coffin of the MRTP Act 1969. Paragraph change. Sir, it would have been much more honest to bring a simple legislation saying that this House thereby repeals the MRTP Act 1969. Stop. That would have been a much more honest way of doing what we are today being asked to do. Stop. The minimum I expect from the minister is that an economic legislation or such far-reaching consequence should be referred to a Mr. Vice Chairman, I rise not only to oppose the bill that has been the hollowness of the object House. Stop. I come to the point and I will have to give a little background because this is the first legislation of its kind in this country which was brought forward in 1969. Stop. former Prime Minister, which, while dissolving the Lok Sabha in December 1970 and calling for mid-term elections, addressed the nation on the radio and one of the full stop.